So we've been at this for 6 years. And in 6 years' time, we've established our reputation as an aggressive and ambitious journalism operation covering every issue that matters to the state of Texas, focused mostly on what's happening at the Capitol, but as it affects the 27 million people who live in this state. And going forward for the next year, or really the next 6 years, the question is, what do we do next? The good news is we're not going to change. We're not going to become a different organization, start covering sports and puppy dogs and carnivals and stop covering politics and public policy. Politics and public policy is who we are, what we are, and will always be what we are. But we think there's more we can do in that space, over and above daily coverage. And I think you've seen some of that of late in the Tribune. We pivoted about a year ago to a much greater focus on investigative journalism, deep dives, where we put our reporters on major projects with significant impact over a period of months. And the result, what was something you really didn't get out of daily journalism, something that really does have a big consequence out in our world, whether it's the Paid to Prosecute series that we did with the Austin American-Statesman, or the Undrinkable series that we did on our own, or Hurting for Work, the series on the state's broken workers' compensation system. In every one of those cases, devoting those resources to a longer form, deeper dive project really paid off. And I think what you're going to see first and foremost in the next year is a much greater focus even than this last year on investigative journalism, the kind of stuff that really does have an impact, changes policy and changes the lives of all of our friends and neighbors and everybody in the state of Texas. I think the second thing you'll see in the next year for sure, with the 2016 presidential campaign heating up even more than it already has heated up this year, is a real focus on how the national conversation about politics and policy affects our state. Texas is not like every other state. We're not Vermont, we're not Idaho, we're not just one of 50, except in the most technical sense. Really, Texas matters much more to the national conversation than every other state. So many big issues start here and migrate out to the rest of the country, and so many things that happen elsewhere in the country have their most significant impact back in Texas. So what happens in the campaign, what happens in national politics, really has a disproportionate impact on Texas. We need to be the ones who explain the importance of national issues and of national campaigns to Texas. We need to be the ones to have our reporters out in the field understanding what the big national conversation means for all of us here. So in addition to covering the state aggressively and ambitiously, I think you're going to see a much greater focus on covering the national campaign and the impact of the national campaign and national issues on Texas more aggressively. After 6 years of doing this kind of work, we know the impact we've had, and we have a huge opportunity in the next year, in the next 6 years and beyond, to have even more impact than we've had already.